Yo, you are watching the review for Dune Part 2. If you're wondering what we think about Part 1, or you want spoilers for both movies, you may wait until the end of the video or check out the description below for the links to the videos. What's up, guys? Hello.
I'm Sai Ali,
I'm Iki Ali.
and
We are Brothers Ali. And so we're going to continue our journey into Arrakis with Dune Part 2.
This world is beyond cruelty.
Alright, while he continues talking about it, I'm going to put this back at the back.
Hi.
So, alright.
So, the establishing shot, right? At the beginning, is the fragments alongside the two last members of House Atreides, at least like the at least Paul Atreides, right? Yeah. And his mother. They were trying to get back to another siege. In a siege is somewhat like of a colony, yeah, right. So on the way there, there's like a bunch of Harkonnen scouts, yeah, out of nowhere,
Yeah.
and that is immediately tense, which is already setting the tone for this movie. As for the first movie is kind of lax because it's like trying to show
to get everyone acclimated about the
Yeah.
world and everything.
but this is like it shows the harshness of what's to come. So straight away they have like this game of cat and mouse,
Yes.
and I think the way they do it, it feels very clean, because it shows straight up the fragments going left and right, and then the two having to be left with a dead body.
Yes.
They are kind of like awkwardly waiting for what to do next, and being told by Stilgar, Paul, is that he has to stay there. But I like the fact that he is with that plan, but as he see the enemies approaching, he kind of like let's adapt. So they start to go away. I don't think they carried the body, right? They did not carry the body, but for a bit, but they did secure a safe spot that end up being like right under the enemy's thumb, like literally. And you see later, when push comes to shove, these two, they are kind of resourceful. They were able to take care of the enemies themselves, despite the fact that they are kind of like fish out of water, because they just join fragments via like a small ritual towards the end of the last movie. So we already know that this movie is gonna focus on these two, by how they put these two center stage in a situation that unfamiliar to them.
Or these two being Paul Atreides and Lady Jessica. Yes. Yeah. And in this one, we get to know more about what the siege is, and more about the ways of life of the Fremens, and about how they have like these different factions,
And belief systems.
even in between, because there's like different groups. It's like, I think it's akin to like a tribal system, right? Like one tribe has another custom, the others have another
No,
kind
I
of
think
like
I
that.
think it's more like they're all one tribe. It's just that there are the older generations who are like more of a religious fundamentalists,
Yes.
where there are the younger ones which disagree with how these people are so willing to throw themselves and other people along the way in danger, in forms of sacrifices, some weird rituals.
Yeah, they don't.
And because of that, some people died along the way because of their fanaticism. So it's kind of understandable that there are like one side which are usually mostly the younger ones are like, no, this is kind of dumb. We don't want to get into that. And the fact that these people, especially Stilgar, feels like because he was able to succeed in the ritual before and he survived the encounters to get to this siege, he is more adamant that this guy, Paul Atreides, is Lisan Al Gaib, which is established to be like you know like kind of like resembles like in the Islamic faith, it's like the Imam Mahdi or something like that, the
Yeah,
savior and
the
everything.
Messiah. Yeah.
The Messiah, which in this world is also established that is the propaganda delivered propagated by the Bene Gesserit.
Yes. Yeah. So yeah, this movie is going more towards like the clash of like beliefs between the younger and the old, and so I can understand why they would like need to believe in something because they have been living like in a such a harsh environment for like 80 plus years or something.
Not really like the environment of the planet. It's more like the oppression from the Harkonnens.
Yes, yes. So they need something to hold on to, and yeah, the way they portray that, it's
Especially when it is established, I think the
Bene
Bene
Gesserit.
Gesserits have been like in power for thousands of years, right? So
yeah,
they're very good at spreading rumors and
hearsays,
like false hope or something like
false
that.
prophecies.
False prophecies, yeah.
Yeah,
And I like the emotion being conveyed by Zendaya and her friend. At first, it feels like they are trying to make fun of Paul, right?
yeah,
But as time moves along, you can kind of see that her actual agenda is that there is no agenda, that they just care about life, and this fanaticism portrayed and conveyed and practiced by these people have caused life before, and it could cause another life, Paul's life, his mother's life. So because of that, you can kind of feel that the humanity that comes from the younger generation, and not to say like the old people are dumb and evil or whatever. It's more to say like when people go through grief, especially for such a long time, you some people are gonna look the other way to say the light at the end of the tunnel, where some other people, they just look at where they stand, and the people that they lost, they just want to conserve that, they want to make sure that no more life is lost. So this clashing point of view is very understandable, and I like that the movie make Paul Atreides explore all of this like as he goes along.
yeah.
And later in the movie, what I like about Dune is that they do two things in particular, right? So one, they do this sandworm riding thing, and which is like a initiation.
Yes.
To truly be Fremen, you need to be able to ride that thing, right? And I love the scene. It's so cinematic. Like it's there to like give awe to not only us, the audience, but also to the people, because these people are all about the Shai Hulud. Like no matter which faction they are living in the desert where all of these Shai Hulud, all of these sandworms, they are considered to be godlike beings that is helping their way of life.
Yeah.
They're able to move them from one place to another. Sometimes even help them transport seeds and whatever to
Yes.
spread the flora throughout Dune, right?
Yeah.
So throughout Arrakis. So when they see, especially a new guy, especially for some, which is a would be Messiah, riding that thing, it feels like very like awesome for everyone. Again, outside of the movie and inside the movie. That's one. They can entertain in the sheer spectacle, right?
Yeah.
And two, they do it in the form of a stilgar, which is in this movie. There are some feeling of that in the first movie, but in the second movie, he feels more and more like a comic relief, but not in a bad way. The movie doesn't even have any solely comic relief character. You know,
Yes.
like for example, Avatar has Sokka, right? In this one, in Dune, as so far that I know, there is no such thing as a comic relief character, but they do allow give some allowance of that to one character, but just one aspect of him. He's not like one dimensional that he's the one that make jokes. No, in fact, the jokes is kind of like our reaction to that, but people at the time they take him seriously. So that's why macam it's like you're watching a good kid show. There are some jokes that fly over your head as a kid, right? But you were able to enjoy it because it's just funny. But then the adults that, oh, I know what you're trying to say there, right? So in this one, it's like you're seeing Stilgar saying stuff that is makes sense for the fanatics to hear because that's what they want to hear at the time because these are like very religious and pious people. Whereas the audience can also have a little bit of laugh, but not so much that it becomes so comical. It's just like a bit of relief for a very high tension film. And this movie is it gradually becomes more and more and more high octane, right?
Yeah.
But there are slower times too. Like later in the area of the Harkonnens, it's like the color is mostly black and white. It feels very drab and distant from the very same planet, like somehow. And although there are some actions there, it is portrayed like an actual fight scene, even though there are some dampening of abilities going on there. For the most part, it feels lax because I mean it is lax in a way that it is trying to let us soak in the moment, but at the same time it still kind of feel rough because of the people they're portraying, the Harkonnens, and some of the Bene Gesserits. So
Yeah, and in terms of like ramping up the action and everything, this is like a stark contrast to the first movie where it's all about the technology and how we harness everything to to make our living conditions a little bit like their living conditions a little bit manageable. In this one, it's more of like if one person is trying to gain power, they will go back to their primal instinct, which is to annihilate everyone. So it's like a stark contrast between ingenuity and primal inclinations. So this one, this is a full on, mostly a war movie than the first one. Even though there's like lots of intense scenes, there's like war here and there, but it's more like a sneak attack from the Harkonnens, right? But in this one, it's like, yeah, we're doing this. We're like, you know, creating the army, convincing them, and then we go to war. It's that kind. It's like if you want to be powerful, you need to be primal. So fuck technology. We're doing this hand to hand and all that.
I mean, it's not like there are blasters in the movie too. There are, right? There are some scenes that kind of stand out. You know, okay, I'm gonna talk about that later on, but I want to talk about the primal bit, right? Because the Harkonnens is so primal and just follow the instinct. Okay, their main source, right, is the spice because it's supposed to fuel the entire galaxy.
Yeah.
Which I think we kind of failed to mention in the first review for the first movie. But the thing is that's why when House Atreides come, right, they're supposed to resume that, but maybe not doing in such an exploitative way that the Harkonnens does. But the Harkonnens, they're like, it feels like less and less of like a military. They feel more and more like an animals. So when they gather these spices, they're like animals just overeating. And like back then like one of the reason why the Black Plague happened and spread so widely is because early on people feel like cats are just bad omens. So they start killing cats, and then when there are not enough cats, there's just too many rats. So the rats spread out, and because they overpopulate and they just bite everything, and everyone eats infected food and everything, and they smell all the rat shit in the streets. That's how the black plague spread faster, because they get rid of cats. So they need the cats to keep things in balance. Now, if you look at it, the Harkonnens are kind of like the rats. They just spread around and eating everything. So it's not just all war. Some of the scenes before, they're like more like hunting scenes. You can look at the Fremens as the natural people that are walking to the frontiers of the sand dune, and they are hunting wild animals. They are hunting animals that are taking away resources from everyone else. They're just hoarding all the resources for themselves.
Yes.
So before now getting back to the scene that I say I'm going to talk about later, that I'm talking about it now. There is a scene where this is where I think Paul kind of like eventually prove himself. It's not an initiation, so much so that it is an actual mission, and the scene it shows that the Fremen is very methodical from the way they walk, the sand walk. And by the way, that's a good thing where they show how Paul in the first movie feels like he knows everything because he looks at like documentaries and all that. He learns how to sand walk based on the textbook way. But in reality, there are more rhythm to it. And he's being taught little by little, especially by the character played by Zendaya, to
Chani,
be,
yeah.
Chani, to be like better at it. So just like that, even though he learned some stuff of the Fremens, it's kind of like already in the Fremens, being in an actual mission, that's where he can actually show his mettle and test it, right? So it shows that the Harkonnens are too caught up in what they're trying to do. They are easily caught with their pants down, but at the same time, they have such aggressive technology that again resembles the Zergs, like I mentioned in the other review. There are some deaths too on the side of the Fremens, no matter how methodical and how resourceful and how like they fight with the guerrilla tactics, coming out of nowhere seemingly, right? They kind of feel like Vietnamese sometimes, the way the Americans describe the Vietnamese, they just walk and then out of nowhere they get blown to bits by the mine bombs, and then the Vietnamese come out of the bushes and everything like that. They kind of feel like that. The Fremens are that scary. As the movie goes along, the movie is surprisingly very linear. Why I say surprising is because after I've seen the first Dune film, um somewhere in 2022 I decided like why not I mean I saw like a thumbnail and I watched the video. It's kind of 2 hours something. I didn't finish the video, but it shows some differences between the novel and the movie, right? So no matter how methodical the Fremens are, it is shown that the Harkonnens, the wild animals that they are able to somewhat massacre some of them. So because of that, the movie still show that the main character, yeah, you're in good hands, but still you are not totally safe because of how the Harkonnens operate. So what I mean by surprisingly linear is because like in the books it feels like a very complex world. There's so many things going on, things that affect this and that. I bet your ass if I read it, there's like a bunch of jumping points to different perspectives or different characters, everything. But this movie is very linear. It's just like a very straight line. Like literally, they move like towards the base of the Harkonnens, and it's easy to follow. That's what I like about like this movie especially, is because although the world is intimidating, it feels like everybody is welcome to absorb it. I just remembered one of the scene in the chapter that talks about like the Harkonnen. It shows the Harkonnens, right? There's a scene whereas Elvis, he like
Fate Rauta, his name.
Fred Rauta, he was baited by the Bond girl, you know, by Lady Margot Fenring, played by Lee Sado. Lee Sado.
Sedo, yeah.
Lee Sado. And the scene is supposed to be like he was supposed to be tested of his mental fortitude, which is reminiscent that to the thing that Paul Atreides went through in the first film.
Yes.
Yeah. Which for some reason we didn't talk about because that scene was kind of powerful in the first movie. Now we're saying it here. Okay. Anyways, but it is established that after that she was able to, get a sperm donation, to say the least. But I like the way that the scene that leads to that um itself is sexy
Yeah.
without after that showing any sex scenes. But you can totally understand because the scene was sexy. And I just like the cleanliness of how they handle that thing without showing anything. It feels like they've already told everything. Like, he's apa is as you comment is a girl or something like that, because like the Bene Gesserit have like an ability to determine the XY chromosomes, right? Yeah, so that's that. And you know the thing that I think is kind of a lackluster in this movie is, although it was marketed, there's like not in just in terms of screen time, but there's not much that is actively done by the character Princess Irulan and even the Emperor, right? Played by Christopher Walken.
Yeah.
It's like it feels more like they're there and they're kind of reactionary,
Yeah.
and even the character that is supposed to be their consultant, or at least people who tell them what to do, Charlotte Rampling, again reprising the role of the Reverend Mother Mohayam. Yeah, it feels like she still does more, which kind of defeats the purpose of Florence Pugh and Christopher Walken, walking into the the cast. So yeah, other than that, there's not much that I say about the Harkonnen chapter. But one thing I can say though, there is a nameless warrior. I don't even remember the actor for that role, but it's supposed to be fighting as a gladiator, right? For the entertainment of the Harkonnens that fights Elvis. Um, I like that without even having a name and without even like um establishing his ranking or whatever, he fights viciously. So even though at this point in time there are not many, Atreides left, it feels like he represents all that was, and it feels very, you can kind of feel that the Atreides is still somewhat scary just from this one character. If this unknown guy is this vicious, like imagine if they actually, have to fight the Atreides, very like more in a more formal way, like in a more, what do you call it, thing, cordial way. It's like everybody is in the end game. There's no sneak attacks and everything. They just fight fairly. I don't think the Harkonnens would win as easily.
Yeah. And let's talk about Timothy Chalamet's evolution from part one, where part one is like more like he's kind of stick of like a guy figuring a charming looking guy trying to figure out a way in his life, like it's like coming of age. In part two, It feels like all of the things that the initially what the Fremens see in him is like, who is this kid? Like, you just a spoiled rich boy from the house Atreides. You can never be part of us and everything. So in this movie, it's like it's up to the task. He does all of the tests and everything to be part of the Fremens, and as he more and more being like things just being revealed to him, and he's taking more and more grasp of who he is meant to be. It's like I never expected him to be able to acting in a more demanding, like command your attention kind of thing.
That scene, you're talking about that scene.
That scene, yes, that's like a very. I mean, there's a snippet of it in the trailer where he says, "I am Palm Wadib Atreides," and the rest of the scene is like sends shivers down my spine, man.
Yeah, like um, even his last role as Wonka,
Yeah.
right? He always like he always plays the pretty boy, the fun guy, you know, and then he start to play like a little bit spoiled, but kind of like um a naive and
Sheepish.
like supposed what do you call it thing, growing a young adult.
Yeah.
But now it feels like he's like not only fully adult, but it feels like a big authority figure,
Yes.
and he's very intimidating in that scene. And I never knew that Charlemagne have that in him.
And despite that's what makes it scary, because he has such a small stature, but because of his bigger role, and he has to like step up and make it like make himself. I think it works because of the writing make him seem bigger than what he is. I mean, he might be small, but he just remembered he's from fucking House Atreides. So it's like, I'm telling you now, bow down to me, something like that. Like, command, I need your attention. Please look at me. Notice me. Something like that. Yeah.
And then towards the end of the movie, the fight scenes are actually epic, and they even have like a one-on-one battle, you know. And the battle, it feels very just like the first movie. It feels very like they in both movies too. They do no music,
Yes, yes, yes.
and it feels very tense by its own merit, by the characters fighting, by the stake of like, if this person wins, what will happen? If that person wins, what happen? Right? Everything that is at stake, and then the gracefulness of the movements or the martial arts, while at the same time the aggressiveness of them both going for the kill.
Yes, yes.
Like, imagine the combination. You don't have to imagine. I mean, you see it in UFC all the time. But it's a combination of defense and offense that is very what do you call it thing? Straight to the point, but somewhat still elaborate.
Yes.
It's like a perfected version, although different fighting styles, mind you, of the Revenge of the Sith, Obi-Wan versus Anakin fight.
Okay.
And the difference here is that fight feels so choreographed. It's like a
Dance move?
like you're seeing Para Sakura or something. But
Okay.
yeah, I actually
no,
feel
you
that
just look at that dance. I know.
back then, and even when I saw it back in 2017, it feels like that. And yeah, by the way, I saw Star Wars for the first time before all 6 episodes before like Star Wars. So I have like no nostalgia for Star Wars. So when I say stuff, I actually not just remembering it out of my childhood. I actually remember it as I've watched it quite recently, right? So yeah, I can make that comparison, right? And it feels like the fight is, I would say raw, because raw would enter like it's more of a street fight. It's not. It's very full of skill. Like, people imagine 2 black belts of like similar martial arts fighting style.
Yeah.
And it's just like again, when they try to go for the kill, there's no opening. Yeah, there's no opening. There's no like, oh, attack me now. It doesn't look like two actors trying to coordinate a fight scene. It looks like,
adversaries.
yeah, people who actually like, you're dead. As soon as the fight begins, to the end of the fight. It's all like going for the kill. You know? But both of these people are so good. They will be able, they on top of all the offensive move, they were able to go for the defense, which is why the fight is as long as it is. It feels very satisfying because, frankly speaking, without spoilers, the fights before I kind of like a bummer because you expect something else, but apparently they're going for something else. So when you do have a fight, which is this one-on-one, it feels very like earned, and you've been waiting for this. At least you end it with this, even though you didn't do that thing that we wanted them to do. And um the conclusion of the movie make a lot of sense. Whereas like especially Zendaya towards there, she step up. She's really good in this one. Where she shows kind of like disagreement with one of the characters, and it feels like very understandable why she would have felt that way. Feel very betrayed, and it goes beyond herself. It is very like satisfying for that character, while at the same time it doesn't stop to be satisfying for the fanatics. It doesn't stop being satisfying for the other people of the fragments, and it doesn't like stop being like satisfying because the conclusion just make a lot of sense for what will happen after that, the consequences that is cultivated from their approach of fighting the Arcanins this way, the fighting the Sardaukars this way.
Oh yeah. In this movie, if I'm not mistaken, we finally get to know how House Atreides fallen, and it has something to do with the Bene Gesserit. And in this movie, we get to see how even more scummy the Bene Gesserit are.
Oh yeah, they're disgusting.
They're very disgusting. They all do all these things, and then tying back to like the scene of Lady Margot Fenring with Fit Elvis Rotha, doing that. Like they're very calculative. They would do any means necessary to spread whatever agenda that they have. So yeah, the Bene Gesserit, man, they're freaking scummy. I hate them.
And the way they establish Rebecca Ferguson too, she is even more repulsive than Charlotte Rampling's character.
Oh yeah. Like speaking of Rebecca Ferguson, in the first movie, she's like, one of the she's just like very reserved and everything. She's just like don't want to reveal herself too much. And then in this one, she went.
She kind of feel antagonistic. It feels like she's the antagonist of the film instead.
Yeah. The first one, she feels like a support system for
A support character.
support system for everyone and character.
A support character for the film and a support system for the family, right?
Yeah. But in this one, she's like, actually this has fallen. Let's just show my true colors, something like that.
Yeah, and she's very, she's like, she feels very unexpected for people who have seen and only seen Dune Part 1 and knows nothing about Dune. And the way she does it is very, again, very pivoting towards being the antagonist of the movie, which is like, I didn't see that coming. So, the thing about, the Bene Gesserit, the character played by Charlotte Rampling, she is more despicable than ever, and I hate her even more, especially towards the end. And somehow, Rebecca Ferguson's character feels even scarier. One is scarier, while the other is even more despicable. Like I don't know how they were able to do that and not exclusively let one character have like all that attribute, which is a feat to behold. And this is like the final chapter of acting. It's not 101. It's like peak. The casting is perfect. The setting is perfect. The music, dude.
The
He's
music.
back. Hans Zimmer is back. He was sleeping during Interstellar. In this movie, it's like, dude, like, this is good. And then I see Hans Zimmer. He woke up. He did sleep,
I mean,
during
I especially woke up during the Shai Hulud riding scenes. They're like, the
yeah.
atmosphere, the sound is like, it feels basically, it feels like the sense of awe of like you in the middle of like you somehow you're transported, you that one guy in the middle of the desert, you're watching a guy riding a freaking sandworm, you know,
Full of worms, ah.
worm sands, you know, like and then there's like music blaring, you feel even more like, oh, this is awesome, you know. It really complements the most of whatever is going on screen. Yeah, like you said, he didn't sleep this time.
Yeah. Dude, and you know, Javier Bardem, I think he is the best character, side character in the entire movie because he has so many layers in him. And again, he's very funny, especially in this one. But in a, like a Get Out kind of way. It's like that movie was scary and then funny, scary and then funny, scary and then funny. In this movie, it's just mostly serious. But when he says some stuff, these one-liners, they are so chuckle and even laugh-inducing that you can't help yourself. But at the same time, it makes sense to the world. And I think he's even better than he has ever been before. All these actors, they're so great. Except for, I don't see much from Christopher Walken and, you know, Florence Pugh, I don't see much from them. I mean, I see good acting prowess by Florence Pugh, but literally we don't get to see much of her in the movie to even talk about the merit of her acting. To be honest, but throughout the movie, again, like Stellan Skarsgård, she's great again, you know. So this this is just perfect. You have like the sound,
Yeah.
the setting, the actors,
Speaking of
the
like,
music, the writing, everything. What?
yeah, I want to talk about, you know, Austin Butler, the freaking handsome guy who gets to play, you know, a very psychotic.
Oh yeah.
When you get good looking guy to act someone ugly and very sadistic, is always a revelation. And the fact that they got Austin Butler to play the nephew of Baron Harkonnen, Fate Rotha, is like,
Do you know why this is so scary? Because it's like Ted Bundy, in a way. Because Ted Bundy, he's charming and he's very deadly. And I don't know, man. Maybe he tapped into his inner Ted Bundy.
oh yeah, maybe if they want to do another Ted Bundy movie, maybe.
He was Elvis and now he's Ted Bundy. That's my pitch for this movie. Dude, this is straight up cinematic orgasm. Like, there's no way going around it. If the first movie is how you do a movie of introduction, this is the movie of how you do a conclusion. It gets a 10 out of 10 from me without a doubt.
So I guess maybe initially in the first movie I like let my excitement club my judgment for the merit of the movie. I'm trying not to do that because I still feel similarly, but you know what? As a movie, yeah, I have to give it like a 10 out of 10. Maybe my expectation is 9 out of 10, but the movie itself is 10 out of 10.
What? You're fixing your point for the last one.
Yeah, I think
So
I
that's
think,
Dune Part 1. So how about Dune Part 2?
No, I'm talking about Dune Part 2.
What the hell are you talking about? Like,
No. What I said is 9 out of 10 is what I still feel about this movie. If I put my expectation, but as a movie itself, Dune Part 2 is 10 out of 10.
Oh, so you're saying you're not letting what your expectation is to cloud your judgment.
Yes.
So expectation points 9 out of 10, movie 10 out of 10.
Yes, and now I guess
I guess I have to give my expectation point too. It's like expectation points and what I get is like a 8 out of 10 because there's something that's like kind of but when I saw the movie, the quality of the film, yeah.
So retroactively, the movie Dune Part 1 is actually 10 out of 10.
Dude, you are so freaking confusing.
Yes, I am.
I compel you from editing this out. This keep this in.
Yeah, I'm keeping this in. So to end this review, let me just say this. This is the second cinematic euphoria that I felt of a movie featuring Timothy Chalamet since Bones and All. Yes, I feel euphoria the second time. And the movie stars Timothy Chalamet. So, there you go. 10 out of 10 from both of us.
Yeah. This is a great film. This is the okay. The thing is, let's talk about two IPs, right? There's Star Wars, and a lot of people, especially the old hats, bitching about how Star Wars is getting worse and worse, which I totally agree with them, right? And then there are, and I'm talking about the episodes, right? I'm not talking about Endor. Endor is great. The, when I talk about Star Wars, I mean the 9 episodes, right? Mostly. So there are also the people who watch Rebel Moon, like we did. And for me, I was like, I enjoy Rebel Moon, not because it's a good movie, it's a terrible movie. It's just that I feel hopeful because at least Rebel Moon is trying to have fun. And I'm especially talking about comparing it to Star Wars sequels here, especially episode 8 and 9. They're like, 8 and 9 is, it's so shit. And the thing about like Rebel Moon is like trying to, what do you call it, thing, show that if we do this differently, right, certain things, people can be hopeful again about a space opera. But when it comes to Dune, this is when it's actually fully realized. This is what people have been waiting for. When people talk about a great film, right? This is like a full package. Like straight up. I'm not kidding you. I am putting this up there with my favorites, like No Countries for Old Men and 12 Angry Men. Like my favorite movies of all time. I put it up there. Like these are movies that I consider perfect. And yeah, this is part of it. That's all.
We out.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's our thoughts on Dune Part 2. If you want to see our thoughts on Dune Part 1 and spoilers for both movies, check out these videos over here. Yeah.